Hello internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind Christian Miss Couture. And today we are doing another Color Wheel Monday, the series in which I go through color theory one color at a time. So we've already completed the red portion and the blue portion of our color theory, the primary color triangle. We are currently working the yellow portion, and today we're going to be adding a blue into our yellow. Once we're done the primary color triangle, we're going to be starting working on the secondary color triangle. So let's get into this. Hello and welcome back to another Color Wheel Monday, the series in which we go through the color theory one color at a time. So what we've done so far in this series, we've worked the red section, we've worked the blue section, and now we're on to the yellow. So we're working our way through the primary color triangle. And once we're done with the primary colors, we're going to go into our secondary colors with green, orange, and violet here. So without further ado, we're going to be making our stock solution. So last week I already did more than I needed of the brilliant yellow because I didn't want to have to do like twice the same thing. Anyways, because I always end up with leftover and I was just not in the mood to have too many leftovers. So we're going to be adding a Caribbean blue this time. And I'm very curious to compare Caribbean blue with when we did the blue color and added the yellow. So we're going to do a 1% stock solution. What is a 1% stock solution? It is 1 gram of the dry powder to 100 milliliters. And from there, we can do different depth of shades. In this case, we're going to do, for the yellow, everything will be 1% depth of shade because this is our main character. And for our second character, we're going to do from 0.5% to 1% of the shade. Okay, and before you do anything, make sure that you have a respirator. Doesn't have to be this brand, but it has to be something that will not allow the fine particle of the dry powder into your lungs, because we only have one pair of lungs, and please protect them at all cost. Okay. We're going to do this. Make sure that it's always at 0 for your scale. And now we need 1 gram. Woohoo! 1 per gram. Let's add the water now. Okay, so now that there is no fine powder loose, we can remove the respirator. So it's only when it's on the dry powder form that it's very volatile and important that you wear your mask. Please don't ingest the dye either. We don't drink dye. This is not good. We don't do that. Okay. So it's only when it's on dry powder form that you need to be extra careful. Technically, I should be wearing gloves, but it's not because it's dangerous for my fingers. It's just that, you know, I will die myself at some point because we are protein based. Humans are protein based. Okay. So now that we have our stock solution, we're going to be adding them into our jars. Okay, so what, as mentioned earlier, we will add 1% depth of shades for each of those jars because we have 10 gram mini skeins of fingering stroll from Knitpick. There will be an affiliate link in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing some of it. So we're going to be doing 10 milliliters of brilliant yellow in each jars, and after that we're going to be doing from 0.5% depth of shade to 1% depth of shade for the Caribbean blue. So I'm very curious to compare from this to when we did the Caribbean blue adding the brilliant yellow. I am very curious to see the difference in the shades that we're getting. Okay, now we're going to be adding our Caribbean blue. 0.5 here. 1, 2.5 milliliter. Now we're switching to our 10 milliliter syringe. Oh, so 5 milliliter here. 7.5 and 10 milliliter. So for the last one, I'm very aware that we're going to have the same color that we did in the experiment. It's really more for the intermediary, those shades over here, that I'm curious to see the difference. It's very like in a smaller amount that I'm curious about to see the proportion, how it impacts the final color. Okay. Hey, this week I haven't made too much of a mess so far. It's probably going to change real fast. This one reminds me of like, oh, I really like this one. It reminds me of Jello, green Jello. If it's maybe this one will be closer to an actual green Jello or Jello green, lime Jello. Yeah, this one is definitely more of the lime Jello green. I kind of like that. Well, we're close to making green Kelly here, so our proportion are good. In emerald green. So, if you want to make emerald green, you need a good base of yellow. Oh, I think I put too much water in this one. That's okay. So we're going to be adding those to the double boiler, and I will see you in the double boiler in a second. Okay, so okay, so we don't have any citric acid as of right now. I've mentioned it many times so far in this series, but the main reason I'm not adding any citric acid to begin with is so that the color strikes slower, so we have a more even coverage of the yarn. Because when you add acid too early in the process, sometimes the yarn doesn't have a time to to absorb the color properly, so you end up with patchy color or uneven coverage, which is something that we want to avoid. So we're going to get this water started now before adding the color, because well, it's going to take a little longer for the water to reach the right temperature. So we want the water in the jars to be between 85 Celsius to 95 Celsius, so that the color will strike properly in the jars. So we're going to come back in 15 minutes to add the citric acid. So see you. Okay, so now it's time to add our citric acid. So rule of thumb for citric acid is about 1 tablespoon per pound of yarn, so 454 grams. So since we have 10-gram mini skeins here, basically what we need is less than a quarter. I really like that. It almost looks like there is fluorescent pigment in it, but there's none, which is fun. Anyways, yes. Where was I talking? So yeah, so less than a quarter of a teaspoon is more than enough for the color to strike properly here. There we go. It's going to be looking very pretty. And some colors really do need the citric acid to show off, I would say. Is it the right word? To be activated. Um, you cannot know the true color of some citric acid dyes before you have the heat and the citric acid on it. And sometimes blues are one of those colors. I have some powder, like dark navy looks purple when it's just in the liquid form, but once you add the citric acid and the color, it actually settles into the dark navy color. So this is something to keep in mind. um yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to let this reach 85 to 95 Celsius. Once it's there, we're going to let it cook for half an hour to 45 minutes because some grains need a little longer to properly set on the thing. And once the color have cooked for 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to turn off the heat, let it cool down completely before we're going to be washing the yarn. And after that, we're going to let it dry overnight. And I will see you in about 45 minutes, I would say. So, see you in a bit. Okay. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so I think we're good to turn this off. Let it cool completely, and we're going to wash it later tonight. Right, so see you later tonight. Okay, so let's look into this. So I'm expecting some bleeding simply because when I removed the skeins from the jars, I could see some color in especially the last one, because we all know that Caribbean Blue is the main character in every story. So I was expecting to have to work a little bit harder than usual. Not necessarily usual, but a little harder to remove all excess dye in the skeins that we have over here. And I will show you in like 30 seconds what it looks like in the mason jars, and you will be able to see what I mean by blue is the main character. We had a little faint color in the water, so I just wanted to make sure that we were removing all excess dye. And I'm really liking those greens. They're very vibrant and I like them. So we'll put that in the spin dryer and let it dry overnight. And here's the colors. What I meant is the last color full of blue. And here's the final result of adding the Caribbean blue in our yellow. As you can see, it didn't take that much for our yellow to become green. The very first one is no longer yellow, it is absolutely green. So this is what I mean when I say that blues are very, very potent. They will take over pretty much anything. It might not be blue at the end of it, but you will have a color change. So, and that is just with 0.05% depth of shade for the Caribbean blue. So this is very, especially when you compare it to when we added the yellow to the blue. Like, yes, it became green, but this shift is incredible. Like, you can see, like you can tell there the fade is fading here, where here it's very much more subtle and it's a very different, like it's a subtle change switch between the different hues of green here, where this one it's we actually have a fade. So like it's doing its job. So if you actually want to do a nice like green fade, start with yellow and add blue by with small increments. Don't do blue and a little bit of yellow. So it's just, I'm always mind blown how potent blue can be and how not potent, impotent. Oh, that sounds weird. And how yellow is not main character energy at all. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm sorry. I'm trying to to place words to it, but it's just so difficult to express how mind-blowing it is to me. Like, I understand the theory behind the color shift and all that, but when you put it in application and see how drastic the color difference is between those two, when you have the yellow as the main character here compared to here, is just, it is just mind-blowing. I will just keep going on saying this. It is a drastic color change, and I'm very colors are magical. That's what I'm going to say. This is my conclusion for this episode. Blue is a god among colors, and we're just all bowing to its power. That's all I'm going to say. So, if you like the video, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye!